I've had these up on the screen as you were coming in. I'm assuming that many of the statements on here are familiar to you. How many of you are running a range of different marketing campaigns through a variety of channels? Okay. How many of you, when you do want to add tags to your site, need to put a request into IT and then wait in the queue? Yeah. How many of you have specific IT release cycles, and therefore, once you're in the queue, you still have to wait for things to be produced or to be put in production when the IT release cycle is going on? Right. And I won't read all of these, but I think many of you are familiar with some of the challenges that occur when you're trying to do all of the tagging that we need to do in order to collect the data that we want and need to help drive our business. And so over the years, this has compiled and become more and more of a problem. The more that we try to do with respect to marketing, the more we start to see these issues. The more we start to see things like too many tags being on the page and that slowing down the website and the load times. The more we start to see that, we're really a drain to IT, because IT really should be focused on product or site development and not necessarily on all of these tagging requests that we have to help us with our data collection and marketing efforts. And so this is how tag management systems came about. And this is why they're here to help us. And so if you are here today, what you're going to hear from me is how we can take a look at all of the options that you have out there with respect to tag management solutions. And how do you make the choices? How do you choose the right tag management solution? And how do you make sure that once you have chosen it, that you are effectively leveraging it? So my name is Regina Gray. I head up analytics and optimization for eBay Enterprise. I have about 15 years experience in marketing analytics. Prior to that, I actually was a teacher. I taught high school math and undergraduate statistics. And so, because of my teaching background, there will be a quiz at the end of today. The good news is you will get a prize. For each correct answer, you will get a prize. Why am I giving this presentation? Because I do head up analytics, and for me, data is everything. And it's important that we figure out how to manage, in a disciplined way, our collection of data. So today we'll talk about why tag management systems, as opposed to just adding tags to your site randomly. We'll talk about what the vendor landscape looks like today. We'll talk about how do you think about vendor selection and what should you be doing to identify the best vendor for you. And then once you've chosen the appropriate vendor, how do you make sure that you have a quality implementation of that solution and you use it to its highest potential? And then there are a couple key things that we want to emphasize today throughout all of your decisions. And those two things that are important are data integrity, and we'll talk a bit about that, and the necessary skill sets that you will need, regardless of what tag management system you choose, to help maintain and leverage this system moving forward. So, starting with why do we need a tag management system? And I combed the internet to try to find some statistics so that we can help understand the situation. This first piece or set of metrics come from a report from Marketing Land. They did an audit of internet retailers' top 100 companies, and what they found was kind of interesting. And this was produced in October of 2013. So one of the first things they found was 93% of implementations are actually incomplete, which means you're not collecting the data you should be collecting or think you're collecting. For those who do not have tag management systems, 47.6% had a higher rate of duplication on the sites. 9% had more JavaScript errors on the sites. For those who did have a tag management system, 4.54% of them had faster load times. And that's a result of things like having duplication and extra tags that slow it down, right? So there's a lot of opportunity to improve things leveraging tag management. Another study, and this was from eConsultancy, but it was done in conjunction with Telium, which you'll see is one of the tag management solutions that we'll talk about. And this was called the ROI of tag management. And this basically was looking at a variety. It was a study where they did some primary research, did a survey, looked at a variety of different retailers, including almost 20% of them being under $1 million e-commerce retailers. So this is not just about the big retailers. This is across the board. It was approximately 20% were smaller businesses, and approximately 20% were really large businesses, and the rest were somewhere in between. Of these businesses, 64% said they increased their website speed, with 34% saying significantly because of using a tag management system. 81% increased their marketing agility, meaning that they were able to do things more quickly, test a variety of different vendors, test a variety of different marketing techniques and so forth, partially, again, because of the challenges without tag management, with waiting in the queue for IT. When you use a tag management solution, you take away a lot of that wait time. 73% reduced time to market, which corresponds to increased marketing agility. 64% benefit from the easy support for privacy initiatives. So this is actually a very important thing that we all have to think about, right, when it comes to collecting the data. And 73% said they actually reduced their costs by using a tag management solution. And so that's even with the price of leveraging the solution. Also from the Marketing Land report, they gave us a good idea of what does the landscape look like. And so when you think about it, there are a lot of different providers out there. You will find many different options. But there are a few key players. The top players that we see out there today are BrightTag, Insighten, Telium, and then a few others. You'll certainly see Adobe playing in this space. You'll certainly see Google playing in this space. And then a lot of smaller players. But one of the key things on this graphic that I liked was 45% of the Internet Retailer 100 are now using a tag management system because they are finding this to be effective. Okay, so this is why. Why would we need a tag management solution? That's great, but how do I choose? There's so many options out there. They all say they can do everything. So how do I decide what the right tag management solution is for us? The first thing you need to do is start by defining your goals. So depending on what you are looking to do may make a difference in the right solution for you. The second thing that we recommend is that you actually do a proof of concept with one or more of these vendors. And the reason for that is to get an understanding of the difference between what they say they can do and what they can actually do easily out of the box without custom development. So you can understand what it will really take and what you're going to get out of the solution. And the third thing is, assuming you've taken our advice and done a proof of concept, making sure that you stay close to that proof of concept, because you want to understand what it really takes, and you want to start documenting your findings. So it all starts with the goal. First step in getting what you want is to decide what you want. So what are your goals? Why do you want to use this system? And sometimes it's more than one goal, but we'll talk about a few common goals that we see. One of the things that we see people often looking at tag management systems for is just to help them keep their web analytics tracking up to date. So we know that we're constantly, if we're doing the right thing for our business, we're constantly changing our website, right? We're constantly tweaking, making changes, making improvements, doing some testing, right, to make sure that we're keeping our customers engaged. And every time we do that, every time we change the site, we need to change the tags, right? And we need to have the agility to be able to do that. And so if this is one of your goals, there are many vendors who can do this, but we've named a few key ones that could help you with that goal. Another goal that we often see is that there needs to be a quicker and easier way to deploy marketing pixels. People are always trying to look at a variety of different options when it comes to marketing, because we have got to stay up with our customers, and they're constantly changing their mind, right? So we've got to figure out what new marketing effort works for us. What new marketing vendor is going to help us take it to the next level and be successful? But that can get challenging, especially when you have to wait on IT to help you get things implemented all of the time, right? And so a tag management solution may be helpful for you if you are constantly looking at ways to improve your marketing and wanting to find some way of doing this more easily and more effectively. And again, we've listed a few. These are not comprehensive lists, but these are the ones that we've seen over and over again when we look at these types of goals and these types of options for our clients. A third one is testing. So if you are doing a good job of creating a culture of test and learn, which I highly, highly recommend as an analytics person, that you test before you just go all out and do whatever changes you want to do on your site. If you're doing that, then you're going to have an A/B testing tool. And if you have an A/B testing tool, often these tools, maybe not always, but often these tools, your fees for these are based on server calls, based on how many tags you have. And often, in order to set it up and get it in your queue with IT, the A/B testing tool company often recommends that you set up every possible tag you might ever want to test up front, right? Which is great because you're kind of prepared, but it costs you more money that way. And you're deploying tags that you may not need right now. So using a tag management solution can help you deploy only the tags you need when you need them for A/B testing, and it helps you in terms of being more cost effective with your testing. And again, not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the tools that you can use. And notice there's an asterisk by Adobe Tag Manager. You obviously need to be using other Adobe tools in order to do that. So you wouldn't use, for this goal here, you wouldn't use Adobe Tag Manager as your solution unless you were using Adobe Test and Target as your A/B testing tool. And the last one is, for me, the most interesting one. When you are looking to do more complex cross-channel data activation. So when you're looking to do things like making sure that I want to put a frequency cap on a promotion that I have out there, but I don't want that frequency cap to have to be specific to display or specific to affiliate program or specific to search. I want to make it let's say I don't want it shown more than 3 times across all of them. So if you want your tag management solution to have the capability of knowing that this was deployed 3 times in 3 different channels, you need to make sure you have a tag management system that can do that. And there are a few that we are aware of that can do that here on the page. Or, for example, if you want to not pay for a paid search campaign, if somebody was just at your site, logged in an hour ago, let them, they come in on a generic term, you don't want to have to pay for that. Again, that's that cross-channel knowledge of what's happening and making decisions based on those behaviors. So to me, this is one of the more complex examples of your goals, but it's one of the most interesting ones. Okay, so we know what our goals are, but now that we know our goals, we have to figure out how to pick a solution that works for us. So it's great that Stephen Colbert can say, I can't prove it, but I can say it. You don't want that to be the same mantra for your tag management solution provider, right? If they say they can do it, you want them to prove they can do it, and we recommend that you have them do a proof of concept to do that. So if you are going to go about putting together a proof of concept with a tag management solution provider, you have to make sure you set up your proof of concept to really test it out. And so what we have here, and we'll go through each one, is for each of those goals we just talked about, what should be included in your proof of concept? What should you make sure they can do if these are your goals? So for all of these, it should be standard that you make sure they can collect order and conversion data. I don't have that listed here for any of them because that should be standard. Of course, you're going to test that one. For checking and maintaining web analytics tracking, you should also make sure that they're able to tag AJAX elements, so example pop-up windows, collecting data that is not always present on the sites, like things that are in the cart and so forth, product cart, order tags, that sort of thing. If you're looking at trying to make your marketing pixel management easier, as well as order and conversion data, you want to make sure that pixels that include varying amounts of data. So products in the cart, number of products in the cart, the items, those types of things. If you're looking to test the validity of using this for your testing, A/B testing tools, make sure that included in your proof of concept is a test where they're doing numerous deployments, more than one, not just one simple test of A/B tags. So the A/B testing container tags deployed through the tag management solution. But you also want to run those tests and make sure you're collecting the data. And again, we'll talk about data integrity and the importance of it. You have to make sure all of your proof of concepts include checking that the data is accurate. And if you're looking at that really interesting cross-channel data activation that we just spoke about, you want to make sure that they have the ability to do it in less than a 24-hour latency, meaning as close to real time as possible. You don't want to have a long wait for the data, or you're not really going to be able to do real-time decisioning on frequency caps or whether or not you're going to deploy from a paid and pay for a paid search keyword, for example. And you want to make sure that you have use cases in your proof of concept for each of the different business rules that you want to apply. So the two examples I gave before would be two, but you may have others that you want to test out as well. Okay, so you've now decided you're going to do a proof of concept. You know what your goals are. You know what you need to include in your proof of concept. You need to make sure you stay close. You need to make sure you're considering the complexity of what it takes to do this and implement it. You need to understand what the post-proof of concept tasks are going to be and the level of effort. And you need to understand what the full cost of implementation will be. You should expect that some of these proof of concepts will cost. Some they will do for free, some they will charge. You need to expect that you have to have a development or staging environment in order to be able to do this and test fully. And you are going to need technical resources to help you. So while we say that a tag management solution is easy, it's one piece of code as opposed to all these tags, and that's why we love tag management solutions, the reality is there's a technical need to getting it set up and implemented correctly, documented correctly, and there is ongoing technical support needed for things like troubleshooting when something does go wrong, right? So you do need to think about this both for the proof of concept and as we go on. So you need to observe how long does it take to do something. Are they actually doing custom work in order to do what they said they could do out of the box, right? That's probably not a great sign because you don't want always needing customization. What's the ease of use of the tool? Is it something that your marketers can use, that you can have a variety of, because that's the whole purpose, that it makes this easy and gives you agility, right? And what are the technical skills required both in the tool for your general marketing team who may be doing this and ongoing as we have to troubleshoot and so forth. Okay, so once you've made your decision, now you have to face the consequences. You have to actually deploy this. You have to implement it. And again, it is one line of code to set up the tag management system, yes, but there's more to it. So you need to make sure, if you really want to leverage this system, you need to make sure that you're disciplined in your implementation. And so we recommend that you set up front a data library. And this, again, it's not necessarily simple. In the long run, it's going to save you time and energy. But up front, it takes a little bit of effort. We recommend that you go through each page and audit each page on the site and identify and create a list of the data elements that you need exposed to the tag management system and document that. And the reason we recommend this is because if you don't, what can happen is you don't need to. You can use the tag management system and it can, without the data library, you tell it to create a tag that collects a piece of data on the page. But you're going to have to tell exactly where it is on the page. So let's say it's a piece of data that's in the upper right corner of the page. It'll create the tag. It will work, and that's great. But what happens when you change the page? The tag management system doesn't just update it. You're going to have to redeploy the tag if you don't have a data library. But if you have a data library established, instead of it going to the page and finding that piece of data, it's going to the data library. And you don't have to update the data library. As you change the pages, it's still going to the data library. It's a good, disciplined approach to making sure not only do you have things documented, but you're using your tag management system efficiently moving forward so that as you make changes, you're not going to have to redeploy all your tags as you make changes to the site, right? It also, if you don't do a data library up front, and you decide later you want to do data library, you're still going to have to redeploy all your tags. So we strongly, strongly recommend that you build a data library up front for each page, because while it takes some effort up front, it will help you in the long run. Okay, so how do we ensure that you have a quality implementation? There's 4 things you want to do. Number 1, define what you're trying to get out of this. Do your audit, create your data library. Documentation is key. We all know that we often have turnover in staff. We often have new people coming on board. The more you document, the more you're going to make it easier to bring on someone new. It's kind of like the woman this morning, the fighter pilot, was talking about having the turnover every 9 months or whatever it was. I certainly have seen that myself, right? Anything you can do to make it easier, you want to make sure you do. So not only document the data library, but document the architecture for your tag management system so that you understand, and everyone has it in one place, how it's set up and what you need to do. Second step is installing it, making sure that, so you've documented it, now you install your data library, you install the code for the TMS system, you use it to deploy some tags and make sure you test it out, right? So through the installation, make sure you're doing a test. And then here's a key piece. Validate that it's working. So the test that we just spoke about will show you that it deployed. But now validate that not only are you collecting data, but the data is accurate. So you want to test that once you push the tags into production, is the data that we're getting back accurate? So how do I do that? Let's look at the data that's coming in, let's compare it to our back-end systems, and let's make sure that we have accuracy. We'll go a little bit further into that in the next slide. And then you want to maintain things. You want to make sure you have roles and responsibility for tag governance. Who's allowed to do what? Who's allowed to set up tags? Who's allowed to push them to production? You should identify a gatekeeper for what gets pushed to production. We would absolutely recommend that. And what tech resources do you need moving forward? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Okay, to talk a little bit more about the data integrity. The first, last, and every step you take in between should be focused on data integrity. The whole goal of all of this tagging is about the data. It's about data collection. It's about being able to use that data to make informed decisions moving forward, right? It's about being able to use that data to do personalization with your marketing efforts and your engagement with your consumers. So we want to make sure that data is correct. So data integrity should absolutely be the mantra of anyone who touches this system. And if you don't have anyone who's on board with that, if you have somebody who just doesn't really think it's that important, you shouldn't give them access, because this is controlling all of your data collection. As we talked about in the last slide, when you validate and you're looking at your order data, your product data, your revenue data, and comparing it to your back-end system, you want to make sure it matches, and you want to make sure it matches as perfectly as possible. We recommend at least a 95% accuracy rate, and if you don't get that, you need to take a look at why, see if you can address whatever the issue is, and if you can't, and you feel for whatever reason it's okay, I can't imagine a reason, but if you feel for whatever reasons it's okay, make whatever accommodations you need to, and make sure you document that so other people are aware. Okay? And finally, making sure you have the right technical resources. Again, the whole purpose of a tag management system is that this is going to make your lives easier. It is. It is going to reduce the strain on your IT team. But it does not mean that you don't need any support. You are going to need someone who is your gatekeeper, and you should make sure that's the only one with published access to the TMS. And you are going to need people to maintain the quality of the code and to do troubleshooting. And so you're going to need people with HTML, JavaScript, JSON, CSS, and AJAX experience. If you don't have that, you absolutely should partner with someone who can help you with that and who can document and do that for you. Okay, so I promised a quiz. And here we go. We have 5 questions. If you can answer the questions correctly, we will give a little prize. So the first one, what are the necessary technical skills to maintain the code quality? I did that one first because it was the last thing I said, and it was the hardest one to remember. Anybody? It's got 4 of the 5. HTML, JSON, CSS, what'd you say? Ajax, JavaScript. Excellent. All right, so it's a pen and a notebook. Do you want the pen or the notebook? We should give the helper something. Okay, how do you determine data integrity? Oh, he's the pen. Yes, how do you determine data?
Checking your...
Absolutely. Take a look at your back-end data, make sure that your orders, your product data, your revenue all matches. Why is it so important to establish a data library? Very good. In the event you make a change on your page, it just makes your lives easier if you did that. It's not impossible. You can do it without a data library. I want to emphasize that. We recommend that you use the data library. What are the 4 steps to ensuring a quality implementation of TMS, tag management systems? That's a hard one, because I said that one a while ago. First one starts with a D. Define. Someone's got it. Who's saying it? Define, install, validate, and maintain. All right, there's a whole bunch of people got that one, so I don't know who you want to give the stuff to. What are the 2 TMS providers with the highest market share according to the Marketing Land report that we looked at? Insightin was one, and BrightTag was the other one. Yep. I don't know who said it. I can't really see. There's a light in my eye. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show.